We will continue now with Jon Kemp from Ryse Energy, who will tell us about integration of existing small wind technology into decentralized and off-grid power systems. Jon, we look forward to hear your presentation. Please go on. Sorry we are a bit delayed. I hope you can survive.
I'm enjoying listening to people. 1 second. Is that better?
Yes, it's
Okay. Thank you for having me. I feel a little as though maybe I should be doing more listening than talking. There's a lot of people new to me, but I'm very interested in what they have to offer. So hopefully I can put a perspective on from an installer stroke manufacturer's point of view. And basically I come from a technical background, a field servicing background, where we have been installing turbines for 15 years, so not as long as some of those on the list of presenters today, but I'm certainly proud of where we are with small wind turbines. I work for a company called Ryse Energy. Ryse Energy was only born last year, really, but it's made up of 4 existing companies. One was Gaia Wind, another was Enair, which is from the Bournais stock, David Bournais design, and the 4 Navitas product, which is a vertical axis 50 kilowatt turbine, which has been undergoing development for some 10 years now. And an installation company called Sustainable Energy Systems. So that's how we are in the industry. The scope of the business is obviously manufacturing function for wind turbines, range kilowatts up to 60 kilowatts. And we have tagged onto that, we have the hybrid capability, whereby we are looking at very much at decentralized power, supporting grids, mini and micro grid installations, mobile sustainability, where that sort of ties in with the hybrid capability, whereby we are looking at providing scope and capability don't have or have emergency need for electrification. And then obviously we have nearly 4,000 installations of our own product throughout Europe and the UK, and so we have a servicing and servicing function, including installation. Wrong way. Product range, as I say, we're covering class 1 to class 3 to class 1, and from 3 kilowatts up to 60 kilowatts with horizontal axis and vertical axis on our manufacturing range. Currently, because of all of the companies that have been put together, we now have installations that cover pretty much the globe and the various points throughout. Remote islands, middle of Africa, telecommunications, microgrids, you know, all of the usual that the small wind turbine technology tends to penetrate. Our proposal in the market, or our offering to the market, is basically to enable a client to be supported from their initial inquiry through to their installation and maintenance and the such like. Yeah, I mean, this is just a slide, a corporate slide, if you like, just telling people how we get them from one point to another, as well as looking at funding arrangements for these projects, which is always tends to be an issue. So why wind? The whole point of this little presentation was to ensure that solar doesn't dominate in the market. It is about a holistic approach to the integration and use of renewables. Obviously, the situation that we have here in the UK, for example, is that our solar resource is not only is it cyclical on the days, but it's quite cyclical in the seasons. So the first slide here, just saying that obviously we don't have the energy during the night time, whereas in the daytime we can tend to deliver an excess of energy. This is all things that I'm sure you are fully aware of. So then the wind turbine resource tends to level out, not just on a daily, but also on a seasonal basis, the availability of renewable energy. And where I'm going to this is to find the balance of the power availability is far greater if you have both solar and wind available for your mini grid or your power station. Next slide. Yeah, so as I just mentioned earlier, this is very much a seasonal thing with wind as well. So wind will offer a much larger element of wind resource or availability of power throughout the winter than it does through the summer, particularly in England and Scotland and British Isles. Whereas the solar has far greater abundance in the middle of the summer. And as you can see, what we're trying to do is level out the availability of power. Same slide, I guess, to back here, but if we look at what we're trying to, hang on, let's just go back a couple of slides here. So if you were using only wind power, you would require this energy, this red element here being the total consumption. This red element would have to be filled in by battery. Whereas if you have a combined power source with the wind turbine sitting on this green line here and the solar sitting in the middle, then your total availability of power is your top line there. And if you look at the area below, I don't know whether you can see my mouse or not, but if you look at the area below the red line, it's very much smaller than what you would have if you didn't have the wind resource or you didn't have the solar resource. So in order to integrate wind into these packages, we are looking to, 1 second, just get my slides in order, that's fine. We are looking to have mobilization units, which will have integrated wind along with solar. This is just a synthesized model or a model of an installation which would have roughly 80 kilowatts worth of solar, in excess of 100 to 120 kilowatt hours worth of battery storage, and 10 to 15 kilowatts worth of wind turbine resource. The idea being of this unit that it is completely deployable. It literally gets dropped onto a wagon, and it can be self-leveled and self-erected with everything within the containerized unit, with canopies to be able to work underneath, solar shading canopies to work underneath. Just need to go back to my track here. So this is an example of, the previous example was an off-grid, totally microgrid, off-grid facility. This is an example of a hybrid solution, which is on-grid. So we containerize it again. We have three-phase installation here in the UK. It is grid connected. It is 70 kilowatts worth of solar with an 11 kilowatt wind turbine attached to it, and it's fully, the beauty of it is it's fully automated and requires very little input from the operator stroke user. Fundamentally, lithium ion has accelerated and eased the deployment of battery storage solutions, and the whole development of this area is accelerated massively in the past 10 years. It's so far away from what we were looking at 10 years ago, 5 years ago even, that it's exciting to be part of this industry. This just being an off-grid static installation, whereby we'd be looking at powering independent dwellings or telecoms towers and the such like, whereby we tend to run these at a lower voltage. So this can be a 48 volt system, whereas with a 48 volt DC bus, with an inverter to supply the power to the property, whereas the previous example was based on a 230 volt AC bus, where everything is joined together and communicating on the AC bus, or the supply in effect, which is feeding the property or the installation. These installations are almost infinitely expandable. They're very modular. It's a lot easier to have pitch regulated turbines. Stall regulated turbines tend to be a little bit harder to accommodate. I'm happy that we have an allegiance with Orbital, and I'm very interested to see what Niels has to say later on. This kind of installation at this present moment in time, it tends to be a lot easier to hook a pitch regulated turbine into this type of installation. Energy diversion is a very, very prominent thing. The utilization of the wind resource is very important, and in order to have this in an off-grid installation, it's quite easy for us because the technology is already there that will give us frequency control of energy diversion units, which will allow us to utilize the wind resource as much as we can. So the technology is there, but there's so much more scope for it, and certainly in respect to the grid connected derivatives. As I was talking earlier, just where I was interested to see what Sven was talking about with regard to energy diversion and energy diversion of store regulated grid connected turbines is an area which is very much under development, I would suggest. So again, going back to off-grid power supplies, basically we're very comfortable with the technology which is out there already, and we've proven it many times over that that the technology is fantastic nowadays. It's amazing what you can achieve, and the reliability of these installations is second to none. Yeah, and just going back again, just saying energy diversion through frequency control and infinitely expandable. Wrong way. Just more examples again. There's quite a few proprietary battery providers out there that give us the ability to be able to do grid connected element, although they work well with backup. They're not necessarily quite there with some of the off-grid, off-the-shelf, off-grid equipment. So yeah, just on to monitoring and control of wind. This is probably the most technical aspect of what we're trying to achieve now. Fundamentally, it's really important to have the monitoring and control and remote access. It allows the service providers and installers, as well as the client, to have a clear idea of what the performance of their system is. And this is the reason this is nothing new, but the reason I'm including this is because it is also important with small scale wind to ensure that the market doesn't fall foul of being discredited, as was suggested earlier. And I think that monitoring gives you that ability to be able to improve the small wind turbine sector massively. So again, we've had some discussions with Orbiter, and there's been some work done in the past, but we would like to be able to have the ability to be able to do frequency response and control of our store regulated turbines, and it's progressing, but it never seems to be progressing fast enough. I think once we have this function, it will open us up much more to the frequency element, frequency control element. And then we have pitch regulated turbines, which, as I say, are far easier to control when the demand for the energy isn't there. However, we also need to be able to harvest that available energy and put it into heat or whatever storage, battery storage or whatever is available on site. Yeah, these are just a couple of examples close to the end of presentation, just to prove our credibility, if you like, really. That we've already installed within Africa and well, as I said earlier, at all points on the globe, pretty much. Yeah, so this was just a 45 kilowatt, 100 kilowatt peak, and consists of 20 kilowatts of wind turbines, or 20 kilowatts of solar and 15 kilowatts worth of turbines with a backup generator on site. And again, just power supplies in remote areas and developing areas. Water supplies, again, nice and simple. The simpler you can keep it, generally the better it is. Just DC pumping stations to provide fresh water for those areas that need it. And I'm hoping that I haven't gone under or over too much, but thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Jon. It has been a pleasure hearing you, and I would like to say welcome to Ryse Energy as a newcomer into the sector, because it's you have everybody knows Gaia, which has been one of the very old brands within small wind turbine sector, and we hope it's in safe hands now. It used to be a Danish wind turbine, but now it seems to be British. And,
well, it's a turbine with a very big history, and I've got a good fondness for it because we were involved in it when in 2008, 2009, when it first came across to the UK, and it was very sad the way it is, the renewables has been handled in the UK. It's been a tough market, but I know that we're in the right industry, and the difficulties we have currently is more to do with funding of development and ensuring that we are ready for the markets when they come on stream.
Yes, thank you very much. The time is running out, but we still have a minute or two for questions, if there are any questions. Otherwise, we'll take them after 16:30. Where we'll have a discussion and a follow-up for the day. Are there any questions or any comments? It seems not. So then I would like to thank you very much, Jon.
Okay, thank you.
I hope you will follow the rest of whatever is possible for you of the webinar, because I think there's a lot of things which can have your interest.
Yes.
But thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you here.